Howdy friends, this is PelicanMan bringing you another Death and Taxes video. For this video, I've chosen to go back to a Leon and Arbiter build. So in the past few weeks, the lockdowns have ended here in Melbourne, Australia, so I've been able to play a bit more paper magic, and I've been testing a few different Death and Taxes lists, including my Arbiterless list with Esper Sentinel, and I've decided that I still think I much prefer the Arbiter build, so I am going to test this online today, and I'll be testing it this week in paper as well. Some of the more interesting choices I've made here are to upgrade basic Planesword Flag Sense Trocare, which improves our ability post-board to cast our double white spells, of which we have a lot. We still have 4 Mistress Factory and 4 Ghost Quarter. Ghost Quarter I feel necessary to still make the Tron matchup favourable for us, and Mistress Factory is a very relevant clock for us. We've also got some utility here in Cave of the Frost Dragon, being something to do if we flood too heavily, because of all these heavy mana investments, such as, playing Batterskull, playing Solitude, activating Cave of the Frost Dragon. We're less likely to want to sacrifice our Canopy Land, so that's why we're only on 3 of these. The spell suite is largely the same as what we've been playing. We've got a playset of Giver of Runes, Path to Exile, again, because we're on a Leon and Arbiter build, they play nicely. Eighth of Isles, Stoneforge Mystics, Thalias, Flickwisps, Skyclave Apparitions, and our equipment suite is 1 Keldra Complete, 1 Batterskull, and 1 more of the Skyclaves, with our 2 flex slots being the 2 Solitude, which would normally be a playset in more current builds that don't run Path to Exile. For the sideboard, this is kind of the sideboard I'm most comfortable with. Most of this is pretty standard to what I would normally run. The difference is, because we are on an Arbiter build, we get to run Paths, we don't need to run Removal on the board, so that gives us room to run interesting things like Phyrexian Revoker to help shore up some control matchups and Tron matchups, and Rest in Peace, which can help against the mill matchups and more of the graveyard matchups. Everything else here is what you would normally see me running. I've got the Baron and Forge Tenders to deal with Fury, Anger of the Gods, Ragavans, Darcy's, things like that. We've got 3 Sanctuary and Vec, which is normally the numbers I'm on of these. The Pro Black and Red means that most mid-range matchups, this is pretty favourable, and it's got a little bit of grave hate for the decks that tend to dip into their graveyard a bit. And the last 2 slots are Leona Relic Water and Drown of the Magistrate. Leona Relic Water is one I've always been a big fan of, normally run as a 2 of. Drown of the Magistrate is one for the Cascade decks, which also is normally run as a 2 of. This is the big thing we're testing, is testing 3 of each of these rather than 2 of each. If I was to test 2 of each of these in this list, I would run 2 Sanctum Prelate. So there's something to consider if we find a matchup where Sanctum Prelate would have been good, or if we find matchups where these might be good, whether they're overkill, whether we do want the Sanctum Prelates or not. So that is the main thing we're going to be testing today. So it has been a little while since I played on Moto. Again, being out of lockdown means I'm back at work, means I'm back to playing paper magic, so I don't have a great deal of time for playing on Moto, but I'm going to try and find more time to put out more videos regularly. Another thing that's been taking up my time is I have created a primer for specifically modern mono white 60 card Death and Taxes. So I'll be including a link to that in the description, so feel free to check that out and give me any thoughts on anything I may need to add or anything that might be incorrect or something in there. Feel free to check that out and let me know. And with that, let's get on to the games. Okay, so I just finished the first match, and then when I hit the button to stop recording, I also watched it start recording, so that means at some point I've hit that button and stopped recording, so I've lost all the footage for match number 1. So we're going to go over the Moto replays and just kind of explain what happened, how it went, and everything like that. So this is our opening 7. We are in the blind, we are on the draw. So this hand looks okay, but we have a turn 2 Stoneforge and no way to protect it. We've already got an equipment in Maul, which the only creature put on is Stoneforge, which again is already pretty vulnerable. Like, if it lives, we're already doing good things. We've got a Solitude, cards picture, we've got a Path, but like, Path is not good without Arbiter. It's not good opening hand, especially. So while this hand looks playable, we will mulligan to try and find a better hand. We mulligan to this hand, which looks much, much better, surprisingly, because we have a Giver, which can protect all of our plays up our curve. We've got Thalias, we've got a Flickwisp, we've got some lands, and the fact that we have 2 Thalias means we can just bottom 1 and keep this hand pretty cleanly. So that is what we'll do. Our opponent is on Urza's Mine, letting us know that they are a Tron deck. We draw an Eighth of Isle, which is a fantastic turn 1 start for us. So we'll play that and pass it off. Our opponent plays an Island, letting us know they're on Blue Tron, and they repeal our Eighth of Isle, which not great for us, but also fine. Tron is a favorable matchup. Control decks are a favorable matchup. This is a weird deck in that it is actually kind of tough, but I think we should still be fine here. We just play out a Vial again, play out a Giver of Runes with it. Opponent ramps with a Talisman, and cast an EE on 1 looking to mop up our board. But thankfully, this turn we get to our third land, and we just get to put Flicker into play, flicker their Engineered Explosives, which means when it comes back, it will not have its counter, so it will not be able to take out our 1-drops. One of the many fun Flickwisp lines available to us. Alright, coming back to us, our Vial ticks up to 2. We've got to keep in mind this Solitude and how we're going to try and get it into play. We get in for some damage with the Flickerwisp, and I believe we will... Our opponent casts Thirst for Knowledge, will Vial in Thalia in response. Had we Vialed it in or played it earlier, they would have just thirsted in response anyway, usually, so it's fine. But I did forget to play my Horizon Canopy there, which could come back to punish us, especially next turn if we drew a 5th land, we could play out the Solitude. We took our Vial for the Skyclave. We don't draw a 5th land, so we're not punished for not playing our Horizon Canopy. Although maybe we might have wanted to draw with it last turn, considering we did nothing with our mana, but it is what it is. Our opponent has a Memory Deluge, which is kind of scary. Really cool card, interesting to see it in blue Tron. Our opponent finally assembles Tron, and they've got an Urza Saga. They play a Warping Well to kill our Giver Runes. We activate it on Flickwisp just in case. Although normally they would just, interact with the Flickwisp in response, but it is what it is. They play out a couple of artifacts, pass back to us. So the constructs they're going to make off Sagas look like they could be particularly threatening. We get a Skyclave into play and just try and take down their Talisman. They pop the map in response and just search for another Urza Saga. But this puts their artifact count down to 2, which is pretty good for us. Draw the Arbiter. At this point, we're looking for a card to pitch the Solitude, so we draw, find a Skyclave, so we can kind of play Skyclave and Arbiter or Skyclave instead of one of those two. Choose to attack. They try and eat our Skyclave. We violate the other Skyclave, take out a Talisman to shrink their construct back down to a 2/2, which means we trade here, which still isn't optimal, but it's fine. This 2/2, I would rather them having played than their construct, and our Skyclave was kind of going to die eventually anyway. So they make another construct of their Saga. They forget to pay the Arbiter tax, so they don't get to search, which I would think they would have paid the Arbiter tax considering they had Tron active. They get kind of Great Creator, which is going to turn off our Aether Vial. They shoot up Walking Blister, and that's going to take down both of our X1s, which is one of our biggest downsides against Tron is that their Ballistas are very good against us generally if we don't have Giver of Runes in play. This is the point where I realized my Vial was turned off to Khan because I start ticking it up towards 5 so I can, start getting Value to Solitude, and I also get a cast Aether Vial, then realize that is pointless as well. We did draw the Mistress Factory. We opt to attack in to trade our board with our opponents and leave them with a 2/2 illusion. But they don't take Khan, and they find Mindslaver, and they have essentially double Tron, so there's no way we're winning from here, so we concede game number 1 to blue Tron. Let's go to the sideboard. Okay, so going into game number 2, we know Phyrexian Evokers should be good against their Planeswalkers and the like, so we're happy to bring those in, and Baron and Sanctified do nothing. The pro red doesn't matter against blue Tron. Jonathan Magistrate has no real text, so there's rest in peace. Except against the Mindslaver lock, but we'll have to bring Leonie Relic Water. Worth noting here that if we were on prelates, we would be on 1 less Relic Water, we would be on 2 prelates, so we'd be bringing in 6 cards here. The cards we work out we want to cut, Path to Exile. For anything we would need Path for, we still have Solitudes and Skyclaves, which should do the job well enough. And then we would normally trim a Giver and a Giver and a Thalia, and this would be our 6. But because we are bringing 1 less card overall, because we're bringing 3 Relic Waters instead of 2 Relic Waters, 2 Sanctum Prelates, we get to keep one of these in, which I opt to be the Giver Runes on the play, mostly due to the fact that they were killing at game 1 with Warping Well means it obviously is annoying for them, especially like in the face of their Walk Blister and stuff, so having 4 of them should be pretty valuable, plus it's a 1-drop, so it's easy to slot in along the curve, or just play off a turn 1 Vial. It's the only thing we can play off a Vial on 1, so it does have some value keeping it in. So this is the configuration we go into game number 2 with, against blue Tron. Alright, game number 2 against blue Tron, we get to go on the play. This hand is a 5-lander with an Aether Vial, so it looks awful, right? You would think this hand looks unplayable, uncapable, but we keep it. Here's my reasoning, right? Mistress Factory is going to be a threat from turn number 2. From turn number 2, we're going to be beating it for damage with it. Giver of Runes, not the best, like, single creature to be this hand, but at least it's not on land. The Eighth Vial is going to turn on a bunch of our shenanigans with Phyrexian Revoker and Flickwisp, and the Ghost Quarter is going to keep them from assembling Tron. And being Blue Tron, I think we have time to kind of get away with this kind of a hand, so we do keep, and we lead turn on Mistress Factory into Eighth Vial. The reason for this is to make sure that Mistress Factory won't be summoning sick from turn 2 onwards. Apparently he's on an island and passes back. We take our Vial up to 1, meaning it can drop the Giver Runes into play pretty quickly. This is another reason the Giver Runes is fine, because you can start protecting the Mistress Factory pretty quickly. We just animate the factory, get in for 2 from turn 2. Very aggressive start. And drawing the Flickwisp is going to compound that aggression pretty effectively, I would think, so long as they don't find Walking Ballista. We get Activate Vial coming out of their second turn. They repeal our Vial. We still get to put Giver Runes into play. Comes back to us. We redeploy the Vial. Get in with the Mistress Factory again. And we choose to get in with the Giver as well, because the factory is going to be a land again by the time they could do anything, so the extra point of damage might be relevant. They just play a Field of Ruin to pass it back. My concern here is that Field of Ruin is going to go after Mistress Factory, so I force the issue by Leon and Relic watering their Urza Saga, taking them off of mana, forcing them to choose between activating the Field of Ruin on the Saga. They choose to Field of Ruin the Mistress Factory. This does give us another land though, because we get to float a mana off the factory, so we do get to deploy Flickwisp as well. So they've taken out a Mistress Factory part of our clock, but actually let us deploy 5 mana worth of threats on this turn, which kind of undoes their work of repealing our Aether Vial earlier on. Here they're able to play a Walk List for 1, which is super relevant in the face of our Giver Runes. We're able to take our Vial up to 2, play at a Ghost Quarter to threaten to take them off Tron if they ever try it. We get to get in for 5. They don't really have good blocks here. And we pass it back to them. Here they're going to try and repeal a Giver of Runes, so we try and protect Flickwisp response. Of course, they shoot it with Blister in response. We get in with the Relic Water. I've asked up to 3, and here they decide to Cyclonic Rift our Relic Water. I'm not sure what the thought process was. They get their Saga back. I suppose it means our Relic Water can't attack this turn, which saves them 2 damage. But we just played it again, take out the Urza Saga again. We get to play the Giver Runes. We have the option here of playing out the Flickwisp or the Skyclave as well. The Skyclave has no targets. The Flickwisp also has no targets, really. It would have improved our clock, but not by a great deal, which might have been necessary, seeing this Filigree Familiar come down, being able to gain them live. But we do Vial in the Skyclave and take out their Filigree Familiar. And we'll leave the Vial on 3 and threaten to be able to Vial into Flickwisp. Arbiter's a fine draw here. Here's where I make a mistake. I decide to try and flicker out a land to keep them from being able to pay the Arbiter tax. But the Arbiter tax lasts the whole turn, so instead they just pay the Arbiter tax in response. And I did this, I Vialed in this Flickwisp in the end of my second main, so in the incept the land just came back. If I'd done the incept, it would have been worth more. But instead I just Ghost Quarter them in their upkeep, forcing them to use their mana here to get around Arbiter's effects to be able to play something, if anything. But our wide board state is still too much for them to deal with at this point, so they do scoop it up, and we will go into game number 3 of match 1 against Blue Tron. Just a quick note here that going back into being on the draw against Blue Tron, I do decide to bring Thalia back in. It'll help interact with, their early counter spells and cantrips and everything, and take the Giver of Runes out instead. While the Giver Runes is pretty important, I feel like it's just way less likely to be able to have time to come down and survive and all that in the face of what they're up to. Which could be wrong. Bringing another X1 in the face of the Bliss is probably wrong, whereas the one two's probably better. I just wanted to try both sides kind of, and I think the correct choice was leaving Giver. I mean, yeah, is to cut the 4th Thalia. But I think the most correct choice was to just have the Sanctum Prelates in the board and just be able to bring in the extra card. This is a matchup already where I'm feeling like I wish I had the 2 Sanctum Prelates. But with that said, this is our configuration going into game number 3. Alright, the signing game against Blue Tron. Looking at this hand, this is pretty clean. We've got our Aether Vial, we've got Thalia, Relic Water, Arbiter, decent interaction. Batterskull's kind of the odd one out here. If this was a Mod 6, this is obviously what we put on the bottom. Maybe we can get around to casting it. Maybe we find a Stoneforge. I don't know. But the rest of the hand's kind of doing nice stuff. Like if we draw a Ghost Quarter, it's hard, but it gets insanely good. Otherwise, this Relic Water's doing a lot of work. So we can keep this one pretty easily. Our opponent does mulligan to 5. So, I don't think they mulligan as well as the other Tron decks. Obviously, they still can mulligan pretty deep to try and find Tron. But they are trying to still play a fairish plan. We draw a Flickwisp, which is a really good draw for us, honestly. They get close to assembling Tron, so we deploy Thalia just to make sure they can't like drop a Khan Liberated on their turn 3 or anything. But they don't actually have Tron, and they just play a Filigree Familiar, which I suppose I could have played like Relic Water to deal with or something, uh, rather than giving them the extra card that might have been a thing, but instead I just choose to attack with Thalia and let them throw away their Filigree for a card. But I do hardcast Flickwisp and threaten Relic Water and Arbiter off the Vial. Flickwisp just flicks my Thalia to give her Pseudo Vigilance. They do assemble Tron. They play Khan the Great Crow, which is going to turn off my Vial. So I play my Arbiter. Unfortunately, if I could have held up the ability to play the Relic Water, I could have potentially. Also, I suppose they were always getting Walk Blister. The Relic Water would just activate the Blister in response. So unfortunately, I lost my entire board here to their Ballista, but it is what it is. A Vial stays on 2. My thought process here was I'm not going to need to get it close to 5 at any point, so I shouldn't be getting rid of the Khan. I can't get rid of the Khan here, so putting up to 3 doesn't matter. So I'll leave it on 2 just in case I might want to leave it on 2. I get to make this choice again the following turn, which I do choose to go up to 3 now because I believe I'll get to kill Khan the Great Creator. I also make a choice here to not play around removal. I could have sent both the Khan the Great Creator to make sure it died. Instead I split it to try and start getting my opponent dead as soon as possible. A Relic Water did just need an Expedition Map. We get a Giver Runes and a Thalia. We've got the Flickwisp threatened off the Vial. Plus, we are getting close to casting this Batterskull, although Thalia does make Batterskull a 6-drop. We've dropped Flickwisp in our opponent's upkeep here to definitively take them off Tron. They had 2 Tails, 2 Minds, and a Power Plant, so we take away the Power Plant. They play a map that costs 2 mana and are unable to pop it and search thanks to the Arbiter attacks. We draw off a Canopy, find a Solitude, draw a Relic Water turn, and get in with the team, leave and give it back to protect them. This is a 2-turn clock, so our opponent has to have some form of interaction here. They pop the map, finding an island finally, getting themselves a blue source. But they need to be able to deal with their board. They play Repeal, which they were just using as cantrip. I did talk about this in the game that I didn't record. I could have Solituded my own Giver of Runes there to counter their Repeal and stop them drawing a card, which may have been better because they had Tron and they were like, they clearly didn't have much going on. This might have been the play. The reason I didn't do it is it would have cost me like my entire hand and cost me my Giver of Runes. Like, you know, I would have been spending a lot of cards just to stop them drawing a card, but I was that far ahead that it probably was the right call to make. But we win regardless, so that is 2-1 against Tron. Match number 1 in the bag. Let's move on to match number 2 and hope that I hit the record button properly this time. Alrighty, so we've got an opponent for match number 2. It looks like we are on the draw once again, so we want to find a pretty good hand. And this is hot. This is... The only thing that can make this better is the Giver of Runes. We are going to keep this. Their plan being turn 1, Vial, turn 2, Cast Thalia, turn 3, Violent Arbiter, Ghost Quarter them, and have a rad time from there, hopefully. Once our Vial takes up to 3, we can start doing Skyclave and Flickwisp things. Sounds great. Okay, our opponent mulligan to 6. They're leading Scalding Tarn. Ooh, Blood Crypt. Okay. Into Dragon's Rage Channeler. Into Mishra's Bauble. Okay. Thalia's looking good here. They do mill over an Unholy Heat. They activate Mishra's Bauble. Looking at my top card. They'll draw a card here. What do I draw? Another 8th Vial. Well, that doesn't really do anything. Even though this kind of gives them more information than I would like by playing the Ghost Quarter into the Vial, I'd rather not take the damage off the Horizon Canopy. So they're getting with their Darcy, which I guess means they don't have a way to trigger Delirium here. Which I guess means they have no hand hit. Okay, they just have 2 mana and nothing to do with it. Which is kind of scary. Draw Plains. Okay. We'll just get Thalia into play. And pass it back. They couldn't... I suppose they could have, like, Unholy Heat or something here. Yep, they certainly do. Let's see if they can get a 4th card type in their bin. They put another incident, so they cannot. So they're just going to get it for 1 again. If they do anything else, I'm not even going to put the Arbiter into play straight away. I'm going to try and punish them with their fetch lands. They do play fetch. They crack it immediately. That's unfortunate. I would have loved to have punished that. Plus side is if they tap out here, I do get to punish them with my Ghost Quarter. Although maybe this is going to be a Colgan's command, popping out Vial, making us discard. They just bought Luris? Okay. This is fine. Get another 8th Vial, jeez. Okay, let's just put this Arbiter into play. And destroy Blood Crypt. I assume black and red are their important colors. I will play out a 2nd Vial. I won't play out the 3rd. I'd rather not take this damage here, and I'd rather have a card to discard like Croxer or Colgan's Command or whatever. Pass back to our opponent there. Okay, they found another Watery Grave. They're casting Lurrus. They're probably going to cast a Bauble here, which is fine. Now they're only... Oh, they can go back up to 3 card types by sacking this Bauble. So casting this Bauble needs to... No, it puts land in the bin, so they can't attack with their Darcy now, because we've got Arbiter chilling back on defense. I think this is where things are going to get good for us. Okay. Let them draw off the Vial. Sorry, off their Bauble. Take that Vial up to 1. Take that Vial up to 3. We drew a land. Perfection. So, what we're going to do here. We're going to tap, tap, tap. Cast this Skyclave Apparition. We're going to get rid of Lurrus. But then in response, we're going to activate Vial. Put Flicker Wisp into play. We're going to flicker the Skyclave. So now, Skyclaves leave the battlefield trigger goes off to create a XX token, where X is the mana value of whatever's exiled with it. Nothing's currently exiled with it, so it makes no token. And then the ETB will exile Lurrus, which is now permanently exiled and not attached to our Skyclave Apparition. Get him with Arbiter, I suppose. If they want to chump block, they can chump block. Because otherwise, the Skyclave's going to come back, eat their Darcy, and have a 1-1 under it. So when the Skyclave goes, they'll get a 1-1 token. So they can chump block here, because, yeah, the Darcy's going away anyway. The reason to not block here is that they could kill my Skyclave and get a 1-1 out of it later. So it's kind of whatever. The decision doesn't really matter a whole lot here. If they are a Death Shadow deck, it might be worth just taking the damage to get their life total lower. Okay, so now Skyclave will eat their Darcy, and they can have a turn. 3 mana, 5 cards in hand. I wouldn't say the game's mine just yet, but we're certainly getting close. This fetch lands in the face of our Arbiter is not amazing for them. They'll have to pay the Arbiter tax first, and if they do that, they can't really do anything else with their turn. Or they could just unholy heat the Arbiter. That's a line too. The way this hand's panned out with all these 8th Vials is a reason why I will be sideboarding one out in the sideboard games. Because basic Mountain, that's interesting. Colgan's Command. What modes? Make me discard? That's cool. It's a reason to have left the 8th Vial in my hand. They are dead in 2 turns to this Flicker Wisp, though. And this Mistress Factory is actually going to threaten them somewhat. So I'll take this Vial up to 2. We won't always know, but we will say no to this Vial moving up for now. Just going to animate the Mistress Factory as well. They're probably just going to chump block the Mistress Factory, take the 3 damage to the Flicker Wisp, but if they don't, it puts them to 1 and turns off like a bunch of their fetch lands and stuff. Yep, they do chump block, which means if they can answer my Flicker Wisp, they're not dead next turn. Although they would be dead to a Mistress Factory off the top, so I probably will pop this Horizon Canopy during my opponent's turn at some point. If I find any 2 or 3 drop, I can vial it in. If I find a Mistress Factory, that's good. If I find a land, it basically is the same as having the Canopy in play anyway. Oh no. Well, they're still dead to Flicker Wisp. That's fine. Right? Still just dead to Flicker Wisp. Even though I just activate Vial, I'm going to not show them Arbiter. We're going to leave both Vials where they are. The reason I'm not playing Arbiter, by the way, is because Torax just makes it irrelevant. If they have a removal spell, like, I'll just attack my factory and the Torak will have to, you know, get eaten. So I am going to animate the factory. It's not a white creature, so if they kill the Flicker Wisp, they can only trade with the factory anyway. And they need to remove for the Flicker Wisp, if nothing else. Drown? Okay. Now that Torak's gone, they have 1 card in hand. I'll play out the Giver, and I'll hold up the ability to vial in this Arbiter. And I think we're good. Expressive Iteration? Sure. That's one of the best cards they could have found here. Okay, so they put a card in hand, they put Darcy in exile, they're casting Darcy. They do have more than 4 card types. So I'm going to vial in my Arbiter. We're going to continue saying no, tick up these vials. What do we draw? Planes. Okay, we'll give Arbiter Pro red. So we're pretty close to ending the game here. Our opponent's also pretty close, like catching back up, but we're on 17 life and they're on 1, so our top decks are just going to be. We have more time to find a way out here. They have a Darcy, we have a Giver and an Arbiter and 2 Vials. I think I'm pretty okay with that. We Ghost Quarter them there just to take them off some red while I had the option, while they were basically tapped out and unable to pay for Arbiter. This just like might hurt them a bit more because they're not able to use fetch lands anymore now that they're on 1 life. Just hard casting a Ragavan? Okay. So they can get in with the Darcy. What do we draw? Always yield. Always no. Always path. Okay, let's path monkey. This should be the game. I'm assuming they're holding up removal here, which is what, yeah. Because they were waiting for me to pro-red my Arbiter, then like Fatal Push it or Dramble Lock it. So by getting rid of the monkey, I don't have to pro-red, so I can leave the Giver back to protect my Arbiter. Beautiful. Let's go to the sideboard. So, Grixis with Darcy and Ragavan's. Forge Tender looks really good. Sanctifier looks insane. Recipes will be fine, but we've already got Sanctifiers. I think that's all we need here. Someone who targets for Revoke or Relic Water. This is a matchup where I really like cutting Arbiter. They don't generally have a lot of basics. We're not really going to be able to punish them. Path is just generally fine against them. We don't really care about giving them lands off of it. It changes depending on whether they're like a Murktide build or a Death Shadow build, but this is normally the easiest thing to cut. With that said, we could trim a Thalia, could trim a Vial. If I had Sanctum Prelates, I might be tempted to bring them in here. But then again, probably not. I think this is kind of what we're about here. So, do I just leave in another Thalia? Do I leave in the 4th Vial? Do I leave in some number of Arbiters? Is there anything else that I might want to cut? I like Skyclaves. I like Flick Wisps. So far, everything's good. Give her a like leaving at 4. All of our equipment seems good. That removal heavy Thalia is probably fine to leave in. Good card. Bad in multiples, but they're going to kill her on sight, so I don't think I'm going to get flooded with Thalias. I'm keeping this hand based on the strength of Sanctifier and Beck. We are on the draw, but if they don't have hand hate to take away the Sanctifier, we're good. Even if they do, this Thalia is going to prove good. We've got Flick Wisp, we've got a Maul to power out stuff. I think we should be okay. And our opponent's mulligan to 6. This is a matchup where I wouldn't hate having like a single Layla and a Sanctity in the board to just sometimes get them, because they're, I was going to say, they're almost definitely like looking for hand hate here. Barrendon off the top. The Barrendon, fortunately, there was stonewalled this Darcy quite nicely. But Sanctify is going to also stonewall their Darcy quite nicely, in that they're not going to really be able to get Delirium with it. So they've just been able to put a Croxer into the bin for value off of a Surveil trigger. So Sanctify just gets eat that for free, hopefully. Oh, there's the Thought Seize. This is almost definitely taking the Sanctifier. And this is also pairing the Darcy with 3-3 right now. So that's Sanctify to shrink it. This is kind of a problem. But Skyclave will be able to deal with it quite nicely, hopefully. There's no way they can leave Sanctifier back in my hand. They just have to take it. I don't know what they're thinking about. Yep, there we go. And tapped Watery Grave. Okay. They get in for 3. Now we find Giver Runes. Isn't that fun? Let's just put this Thalia into play. Pass it back. It's interesting that I consider the matchup favorite. Consider opponent's done so much in the early turns, and like, look what I've done. Planes into Thalia. Looks like a bit of a joke, right, when you compare the two, but we're also still ahead on life, so. Ooh, Fatal Push, okay. This is still fine. Their board hasn't progressed beyond this Darcy, which has only just now gotten us at a low life total. And we'll just get to Skyclave to get rid of that basically permanently. If they manage to do that Skyclave, they get a 1-1 back, not their 3-3 flyer that surveils into their graveyard. So I'm happy to just sit here and like cast one of these threats every turn, and I think that's still going to put us in a good spot. And at any point we top tick a Sanctifier, we just get to slam it and get very far ahead, which is why I run 3 in the board. It means this matchup's almost a joke, you know? If they didn't have a Thought Seize, this match would probably already be over by now. Okay, Expressive Iteration. If they don't kill Skyclave here, I'm probably going to put Maul on it. And then if they deal with it, I'll just play a Flickwisp, flicker the Maul, and recruit the Maul to the Flickwisp, and then do the same with the next Flickerwisp. If at any point we draw a land, we'll put the Giver Runes into play while doing some of that. Ooh. Our opponent's fetching and fetching. Shocking and shocking. It's intimidating. Because this Drown the Lock, Death Shadow. I don't even know what else it could be. Croxar? Thoughtseize? What is this Steam Vents up to, though? Thoughtseize takes them all, that makes sense. Ooh, that was a good draw. They're shocked in the Steam Vents, so I assume they have, like, an Unholy Heat or a Bolt for my Skyclave here, so we'll just get in, force them to show it to us. No? Okay. I'll play the Giver Runes, and we'll play a Flickerwisp. I suppose I'll just flicker at planes, doesn't really matter. They know our whole hand anyway, so this shouldn't matter. But now we are threatening lethal with our 2 creatures. But they have 3 cards in hand, so I assume this isn't close to over yet. Plus they put themselves that low, so I'm assuming that means they're a Death Shadow deck. I don't know. Okay. They Monkey, we don't care about Monkey. They drown a Flickerwisp. Yeah, nothing we can do about that one. Okay, so they just show us they have nothing else. Okay, so let's just pro-red our Skyclave. Get in. Now we'll play Flickerwisp. Flicker the Skyclave. So they get a blue 1/1 here. And the Skyclave comes back. We'll take out the Ragavan. Which if they can do with the Skyclave, still just gives them a blue 1/1. So between my 3 cards in play and my path in hand, I think we're good here. They draw 1 card. I can pro blue this to get through the Flickerwisp they need to deal with. I have a path. And that's it. Our opponent scoops on the match. So that was, what, a 2-0 against Grixis, Darcy, Ragavan, potentially Death Shadow. 2-0. Let's go on to match number 3. Okay, we have an opponent for match number 3. We get to be on the play. Turn 1, give him a return to Stoneforge as a keep. With the Thalia to hang out as well. We got a Mistress Factory. We've already got a Batterskull, so we could opt to get more Skyclaves with Stoneforge, which might keep our opponent from killing it, which means we just get to put Batterskull into play, which is cool. But if Giver survives, we're probably just getting Caldera and just, you know, winning the game, I suppose. Scalding Tarn from our opponent and passing back. Okay. Backup Stoneforge. Okay. They could have Spell Snare, but I'm not going to not play my Stoneforge. We will take Caldera Complete, please. And pass it back. Opponent gets a Breeding Pool with this Scalding Tarn, shocks it in. Probably consider Cycle Curator. Okay, so we're investing Living End. Of course, this is one of the matchups where a turn 2 Caldera doesn't really do anything. So that's cool. Still gonna do it because I want to. Maybe could have attacked with Giver there. It's fine. So my plan is, if they Living in next turn, their board shouldn't be too crazy, and I can just Flickwisp my Caldera to create a new germ. If I find a land, that is. It would be just my luck to miss my 3rd land drop, wouldn't it? They just got... Yeah, okay. Disgusting. On the plus side, the board's not, like, crazy. Okay, so we'll flicker the Caldera, reset the germ, pass it back. This stops their Waker of Waves being relevant at all. This can still get through. I mean, we haven't automatically lost, at least. Gross, whatever. My hand doesn't really matter. I would assume it takes Batterskull. If they don't take Batterskull, they're probably going to get wrecked by Batterskull later. Like, if I just get the hardcast Batterskull and then equip it to my Caldera at some point, they're in trouble. Okay. Okay, just getting with their 4/4 flyer. Sure. I'll take it for now. I'd rather just hit him back for 2, honestly. Okay, that's a cool draw. Let's get this 8th Vial into play. I don't want to play my Thalia because I want to be able to cast my Batterskull next turn if I draw a land. And otherwise, if I draw Solitude, I'd like to be able to pitch Thalia to it anyway. Alright, here comes Batterskull. My opponent is now in many troubles. With no force negation, gets stuffed. Alright. We're very close to threatening lethal now. Oh, that's fine. I don't care about grief. Take my Thalia. They could be setting up for another living end here. What do we get? Planes. Okay. Let's draw a card. Flicker Wisp, hey? So I can get in with Caldra and flicker it? Yeah, I kind of like that. Kind of like that. Oh yeah, because of this stupid thing, my factories only be 1/1s. So I did kind of need to draw something good there. I thought these were going to be attacking as 2/2s for some reason. So if they have Barnap as my dead regardless. Want to get Grief. I'm just dead to these Griefs, right? Let alone the Striped Riverwinder. Or block 1. And against this board state, I could like block here. So yeah, I think I've just got to hope they don't have another Cascade spell. Yeah, it's the best I can do. Well, they didn't have it. Do we win? The opponent's seeing the threat we're posing has left everyone back. Take file up to 3. What do we draw? Skyclave Apparition? That's pretty good. Take out their Curator. And we'll attack with everybody. If the Shardless blocks here, we'll still travel over 2. These are both lethal. So I think we're good. They would have to cascade into a living end right here. Which was maybe a reason to leave the Skyclave back. Oh no. You're kidding me. You're kidding me. I suppose we had lethal anyway, so we should have left the Skyclave back. The Skyclave can't take in any of these, but what if we rolled it in? We could go double block, block. Yeah, I suppose we would have killed him on the crackback. Oh, we get our board back. Hold on. We're not doing awful. We do get a board back. Thankfully, their Grease got all my Stoneforge Mystics. Let's not search with that one. We might be good here. For some reason, I forgot we had creatures in it. I suppose because I didn't cast like most of them, they were just like taken away from Griefs. Well, I suppose the Giver and the Stoneforge were our initial board from the first living end. Okay, we might have this still. I think they kind of have to attack in some way here, don't they? Okay. I don't give a block here. Chump here. Well, I should have activated my Mistress Factories. That was just a straight up mistake, but we survive on 3 and win. Okay, what do we draw? Here an Arbiter. They're just dead to my board, so let me just threaten lethal. Force them to have another violent outburst. Which they can't pay the Thalia tax for both sides, so I win. This costs 4, now the living end costs 1. Yep, pay the cost, opponent. But bam! Alright. Winning game 1 against living end is huge. Huge if true. Because we get to bring in Draniths, we get to bring in Rips, we get to consider bringing in Sanctifiers as well. Which aren't great against the blue creatures they're trying to reanimate, but good against everything else. This is a matchup where, again, we would have brought in 2 Sanctum Prelates if we had them, which would have been over one of the Droughts and over one of the Relic Waters, so we would have had 1 more card to bring in here, so we would have either been 6 or 9. What do we want to cut? What do we want to cut? I don't think Giver Runes is doing a lot, so we can at least trim 1. Paths aren't great. Skyclaves don't really do anything. I think Paths are better than Skyclaves. But maybe we just don't like Paths or Arbiters. Arbiters might be fine, honestly. These do have a fetch land mana base. Gets upgraded Paths. We'll leave in the thighs, leave in the vials. Do I want the Sanctifiers is the question. They can be upgrades. They're just upgrades to Arbiters, right? Let's assume we're cutting Arbiters. We can leave in Paths, really. We could probably leave in this Giver. Yeah, because Sanctify is probably just better than Arbiter. If we've got Sanctify, the few blue cards I get back, we can path them. Yeah, let's try it like this. Okay, our opponent gets to be on the play. We have a vial, but no way to interact with their combo. Except like a single path. I suppose we'll mulligan this one. Oh, this is not much better, but we will keep. We'll spare Giver on the bottom. Because we still got the nice little Giver Stoneforge package going on. We've got the vial, so we find Dranith. That's something we can do. There's the Dranith. Okay, so I think I'm actually going to leave Giver to protect Dranith. Don't worry about the vial later. If we find a land turn 3, we can play Stoneforge and the vial. Get the Cauldron and start winning the game from there. Our opponent fetch option did nothing. That's interesting. I'm going to leave Dranith over Rip here because they don't have much of a graveyard yet. And I feel like they're more likely to have like a Pact Negation or something than something that deals with this Dranith on the stack. Oh, Waker Wave, sure. So next time I don't draw a land, I'm probably playing Rip. If I do draw a land, I'm playing Rip and Vial, I suppose. Or maybe I'm just putting a Maul on the Dranith. Maul on the Dranith might actually be the best line. Okay, we drew a Plains. I think I do want to put the Vial into play. Yeah, let's go to Stoneforge, I suppose. I'm not going to attack with Dranith because I'm threatening Kaldra here, so I've got a fast enough clock anyway without letting my Dranith be vulnerable to like a, you know, Brazen Borrower or something like flashed in to block. You really don't draw another land next turn and get to Violent, use Stoneforge to drop in the Caldera and also cast the Rest in Peace. That's fine. Because they can't deal with Dranith, or if they deal with Dranith, they can't also Cascade in the same turn, so I'll get to deploy this Rest in Peace before they could Living End anyway. That's the fun thing is they can't cast this Brazen Borrower from the Adventure Zone while Dranith's in play. Now the question is, do I put Caldera into play or do I play Rest in Peace? I think I play Rest in Peace. I'm not really concerned about them hard casting like their flyers or anything yet. My main concern is making sure they can't do their combo stuff. I'm still going to leave both these back, which could be a problem if they deal with my Stoneforge. It would mean that my Caldera wouldn't be a win condition, but then I would just transition to Maul being my win condition. But at that point, this getting in with these guys in these early points of the game would be more relevant. I should have also played it to give it there. Not a huge deal. Let's pretend I was leaving one in hand to pitch the Solitude or something. Alright, they can't get through Dranith and Rest in Peace, and they scoop it up. That's match number 3 in the bag with a 2-0 against Living End. Let's go to match 4. Alrighty, match number 3. We're yet again on the draw. So this hand looks okay, but it's actually full of 3-drops, because Arbiter's not really a 2-drop. I mean, in this hand he kind of is. But we will mulligan. This hand just looks a million times better. We will keep this. So our plan is turn 1 Vial. Turn 2 is probably cast the Stoneforge. Turn 3 would be Violent Arbiter, Ghost Quarter them, so we just don't need all these lands because we actually kind of want all these spells. Yeah, I'll put back a basic Plains. I mean, the Cave of the Frost Dragon is not likely to be more relevant than a Plane, so we could like get punished by something like a Ghost Quarter. The reason I'm bottoming the Plains of keeping the Cave of the Frost Dragon is mostly so that I don't have a Cave of the Frost Dragon in my deck to draw into. Alright, Ragavan, huh? Ooh, we're actually going to lead Mishra's Factory here. Next turn now, we are actually going to eat their Ragavan with their Mishra's Factory, or try to at least. So we could have played the Giver and threatened to trade with their Ragavan, but normally Ragavan hitting us doesn't really matter. The Treasure is the most relevant part here. Because the card they exiled, where is it? Horizon Canopy? Yep, doesn't matter. But yeah, what really matters here is actually giving them that land. Yes, File will go to 1. Now we play Cave of the Frost Dragon to make sure it comes in untapped. So our plan is animate Mistress Factory block, tap Mistress Factory to pump itself up to a 3-3 here. Because we're happy to wait on both of these. Both of these would rather be vialed in than cast. Like we could cast the Stoneforge, but it is just going to get killed here. And I'm not about that life. Okay, so during Declare Attacker still, because the Darcy's a 1-1, our Giver gets to eat it, so we will drop in the Giver. Oh, they're just straight up killing it? That's fine. They probably could have waited to see what we were doing, because I think their removal would be better used on our Mishra's Factory. But I mean, maybe they have another removal spell. Looks like they do indeed have another removal spell. Okay. So that's burnt most of their resources, so I'm kind of okay with how this is wound up. Oh, and Petty Theft's my 8th vial? Jesus, opponent, settle down. This has ended up pretty bad for us now. My opponent's only got 2 cards in hand. I am just going to redeploy the vial. Again, I don't really care about the Ragman hitting us. The Darcy's not that big yet. If I could draw a land and play Arbiter and Ghost Quarter in the same turn, we're looking pretty good again here, I think. Is this 4 card types for them now? I think it is. Yeah. Yeah, they hit planes. I wouldn't have minded drawing that planes, but oh well. Jeez, main deck Petty Theft, it's so savage. I think I'm forced to just cast a Naked Arbiter and I'm going to trade it with this monkey if they let me. Oh my god, Counterspell too? Jeez. If I can draw a land next and play this Flick Wisp, I think we're still potentially okay. What did Ragvan hit? Just on the planes by the look of it. Oh my god, and there's a Murktide. Oh no, they must hit the Flick Wisp, I don't know. Okay, we can draw a land. Flick Wisp can reset that Murktide and then trade with something. I really want to keep my Mistress Factory around, so Ghost Quarter here. Play the Flicker Wisp. Hope their last card isn't a counterspell again. Alright, the Murktide's back as a 3-3, so Flicker Wisp will try and trade for that. And I just have to hope they have actual nothing in their hand. Expressive Iteration's pretty good, but we're not dead yet. And they have Unholy Eater. Okay, we're dead to that. Jeez, alright. That was a good game 1 for them. We get to bring in Sanctifiers. I'll bring in Burn and Forge Tenders as well. That should stop their aggro plan. I don't think we want Rest in Peace. What don't we want? I don't think we want the Leonin Arbiters, and I don't think we want Paths, really. No, Paths deal with Murktide, actually. Stack Waves are fine, so I don't think we want Arbiters, because I think we're fine to just naturally Path. It gives a good, so much good Thalias. I think we can just go down to Thalia and call it a day there. Or we could go down an Aether Vial. No, they're a control deck. We want Aether Vials. Alright, let's run it back like this. Let's go on the play. We don't have a second wipe. We do have a Sanctifier. I'm going to keep anyway. Turn my Giver into turn 2 Thalia is actually going to be really good regardless. And if we draw a white source, we get to play a Sanctifier. Alright, Unholy Heat for my Giver, sure. Now answer this. Should again cost their entire turn. If I can't play Sanctifier next turn, I can still get in with Mistress Factory. Okay. Awesome. Play Sanctifier. I'm going to be aggressive here. Just because Sanctifier is going to sit here stonewalling them the whole game anyway. So I might as well get in with Thalia while I can. I'll take a damage from here and just eat this Ragavan if they try to attack with them. Okay. What are they planning something or Dress Down? Is this Dress Down? It is Dress Down, okay. I think I'm still okay with this exchange. While they're tapped out, let's cast Maul. Just get the beatdowns going. They tap it out again, we get to play Flickers, otherwise we just get to get in with Mistress Factories. Okay, so put Counterspell in the bin. It's interesting. Ragavan, sure. Hello. Okay, get in with Athalia 4. We'll play Stoneforge Mystic. So we can get Caldra, that makes us vulnerable to Archmage's Charm, so I think we'll just get Batter Skull. And I think we'll Flicker Wisp. And we'll Flicker the Maul and try and put on the Flicker Wisp. Yep, they scoop it up. Let's go to game 3. We can keep the sideboarding as it is, but can consider Rest in Peace over what? I kind of like everything we're doing here, so I think we'll just leave it as is. Those 2 cards that weren't really pulling their weight, I'd be happy to cut them for Rest in Peace, but like Solitude and Paths feel necessary for the Murktide. Skyclave's fine in taking out the little dorky ones. Flicker Wisp, just solid. Maybe not at its best here, but still solid. Well, if this had a single land, I would actually keep it. Well, Mulligan. This is good. So don't want to give a turn to Stoneforge or Thalia, so let's put away the Ghost Quarter. Because if we want a third land, we want it to be a white source anyway. Okay, they lead turn 1 Darcy. Basketball's a good draw. Let's lead turn 1 Giver. If this lives, we're just going to go turn 2 Stoneforge, I believe. Okay, they cast Consider, they surveil Expressive Iteration in the grave. So they've got instant sorcery and land. They crack bauble, so that's all 4 types. So the Dragon's Rage Channeler has flying and is a 3/3. Okay, so they get to drop their bauble. We find another Stoneforge. Let's play out our first Stoneforge. Because we have the Batter Skull, I am just going to get Maul here, I think. Because I am just worried about Archmage's Charm. Well, we've got Flicker Wisp. No, Maul's fine. Let's get Maul. We do have the backup Stoneforge anyway. Okay, Expressive Iteration, sure. Vicious Bulb on Exile. They have a land drop in Flooded Strand. Getting untapped Steam Vents for another Darcy, okay. Jeez, they're really controlling their draws now, huh? I feel like there's going to be a Murktide in my near future. Come on, draw a land. Jeez. Yeah, I'll just pass. I'll have the ability to put Maul or Batterskull into play. Okay, Ball, Serum Visions. Opponent's cooking with gas this game, same as game 1. My one hope is that I get to load up a Batterskull with them all the Skyclaves and hope that's good enough. Yeah, I'm just going to take this. Okay, activate Stoneforge. Put the Batterskull in. Untap. Still haven't found a third land, okay. Just going to get in with the Batterskull. Let's activate the Stoneforge. I'm doing a response to them popping this land because I'm worried about like double removal spell. And I just really want this Batterskull to hold the smaller Skyclaves. Well, I suppose Unholy Heat still does this in here. What is this? I feel like this is Archmage's Charm. I feel like that's why they're fetching here. Dress down? That's fine. What is... So does it just become a 6/6? Does it become a 0/0? I don't actually know how Dress Down works here against the Germ. It just becomes a 6/6, loses all of its keywords. No, don't Unholy Heat. Oh, I've got to give it. Oh, no! Do not Unholy Heat. God damn it. Okay. Jeez. Our opponent just had it all these games. I suppose they did dig very, very deep, so of course they had it all, but my goodness. Yep, there's nothing we can do. We just have to pack this one in. Alright, we are 3-1 with old school Arbiter Death and Taxes. Let's see how we go in match number 5. Alrighty, we've got an opponent for match number 5. We are on the draw yet again, but this hand is fantastic, so we'll keep. Would have been even better on the play, but can't have it all. Our opponent leads on tapped Stomping Ground. That tells us basically nothing. Could be Ponza, could be anything. It could even be a boat. Play our 8th file and pass. So next turn we are likely to play out Stoneforge. Oh, Kavu. So there is Zudek. So I'm actually going to play Arbiter out next turn and let him be vulnerable, I think. Maybe it is Stoneforge. Maybe, no, I'll play out Stoneforge because I've got the Batterskull in hand. Batterskull's going to be really good in this matchup. I will play out Stoneforge. And I'll just tutor up Maul so that maybe they leave Stoneforge alone. Alright, pass back to our opponent. What do they got? They don't appear to have a land. I'm willing to take 2 from this Kavu. They discard Mantis Rider, okay. Take 2. What else have we got for his opponent? They're doing something. Tribal Flames on our Stoneforge. Okay. 8th Vial, drop Giver Runes. Let the Stoneforge die. Come on, second Ghost Core off the top. And that's just another Arbiter. That's fine. Yeah, okay. I'm just going to cast this Arbiter then. And Ghost Core to their Stomping Ground. Pass it back. I don't know that there's any reason of Island to, like, not have just put this Arbiter into play straight away, but... Ignoble Hierarch, okay. Well, they don't have a land drop, so that's fun. This Arbiter into play. We will tick up to 3. Draw a Flicker Wisp. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool indeed. Let's play at this 8th Vial for reasons. Go to combat. Attack with these guys. They have no favorable blocks. Oh yeah, let's do this in their upkeep. Instead of stopping my opponent's upkeep. In their upkeep, I'll activate this Vial. This is fun. Put in Flicker Wisp, and we'll flicker away their forest, which should leave them with 0 basic land types, which should kill the Carvu. Beautiful. And now also they can't really cast spells this turn, except through this guy. Well, if you're going to have one land, it's good to have 3 land types on it. And a mana dog. Now your land comes back. We'll let this file tick up to 1. We'll leave this file on 3. Do Horizon Canopy. So let's just put Maul on one of the Arbiters. Go to combat. Attack with you, knuckleheads. Opponent goes to 7, and they're in a lot of danger. So we'll pass it back to them. Bloodbraid Elf is a way to get yourself back into this game. You do have to contest with my 7 power of flyers, though. Bloodbraid into Shardless, sure. The last thing you hit still needs to deal with this with an active Giver runes in play, though. Well, Lightning Helix will gain you the life, so that's something. Yeah, I have no way to deal with that. That is fine. They're even getting in with... I suppose that is 5 damage. That is very brave. But I suppose they're not dead, even if this Arbiter gets through as well, so... Yeah. Draw a Path to Exile? That's pretty good. It's pretty good indeed. I think, though... Oh, I think I just get to do this anyway. Pass the turn. I've got 2 Arbiters and a Path. They've got a Fetch. They've only got 4 mana. I don't know how I can lose this one. They have 2 lethal threats in the air. Yep, there's game 1 to us. Let's go to the sideboard. So I'm assuming there's some kind of a General Ferris Rockerick deck. The Carvu... I mean, they have a lot of multi-colored spells, so surely Sanctify is going to be good. Baron of Fortunes are probably going to be fine. Drowned does stop their Cascaders, but is otherwise pretty mopey. Relic Water can deal with Golems if they are General Ferris Rockerick. What can come out? I think I need to leave in Arbiters to combo with my pass for this kind of matchup. Thalias should be fine to cut. Kind of like everything else, I'm happy to go down a Vial and happy to leave in all my Givers and just sideboard like that. I think that looks good. Wow. Okay, this hand. This is very heavily leaning on our Aether Vial. We get to go Giver into Stoneforge, into Stoneforge, into Stoneforge. But the Stoneforge doesn't do anything unless we find a land. This Path will do anything unless we find a land. They're likely to have Artifact Destruction against us. Probably. I think I just have to mulligan. As much as I like keeping greedy Vial hands. I don't think I can keep this because it's a 1-lander. Oh my god, another 1-lander. We have the Sanctifier, so we're just going to hope the Sanctifier gets us there. Let's get rid of our 3 drops. And hope this is good enough. Okay, Ghost Court is a cool draw. If I find a white source, I'm absolutely just jamming Sanctify next turn. Otherwise, I'm going to play out Arbiter. Okay, they're fetching up a Tron with their Bloodstone Minus. This is probably a Carvu then. Scion of Draco. Okay, you know what? I am actually happy to just slam a Path on this thing. It regresses their mana, but this thing is just going to do nightmarish things for us otherwise. Show me a white source. Not quite. Not quite. The unfortunate thing is now, as our Stoneforge will not be able to search while our Arbiter's in play, but I assume this Arbiter's not long for this world. If I thought it was going to live, I would have played Stoneforge. Is this a Helix? Tribal Flames, sure. Same diff. Shardless? Yep. Lightning Helix, that's fine. They flipped over a Mantis Rider as well. I'm glad that we're not facing down that Mantis Rider. Okay. Do I need double white? Not really. Yes, really, actually. So, colors and white. Let's play Stoneforge. I'm going to get Caldra, just in case they let me get away with that. I'm going to Ghost Quartermain Mistress Factory. Play a Baron and Forge Tender, and next turn I can either activate this, put this into play, or cast this. Both of which should be really, really good in this matchup. And I've got this to protect my stuff. So maybe I will protect this Stoneforge in the hopes of putting a Caldra into play. Okay, Mana Dork, that's fine. Okay. I mean, I'll take 5, that's totally fine. Looks like you have nothing. Cool. Okay, Tribal Flames. No, thank you, dude. I'll prevent all of that damage, please. Okay, with the Frost Dragon, it's fine. I'm just gonna chill. I want to put this Keldra into play to block this Shardless. And I don't want to turn on Prismatic Ending, so I'll do it in the combat step. If they don't attack, I'll just do it in the end step. Well, okay. So you have actual nothing. Okay. Okay, put Keldra into play. And we'll block and eat this Hierarch. Okay. Untap and draw. It's a Flicker Wisp. It's pretty good. This Canopy's dealing us a lot of damage. This is why I'm happy that I'm down to 3 in this list. I'm going to flicker my Stoneforge. I'm not going to attack. Actually, I will attack. I can just chump block with Stoneforge or with this Flicker Wisp if I need to. Okay, Flicker Wisp returns my Stoneforge. Stoneforge tutors up Batterskull. And should be pretty good from there. Okay. Chump block with Flicker Wisp. Arbiter, do you do anything? No. Okay. So 5. I think I'll just chill with the Caldra for this one turn. Because I think from this point I'm going to be attacking with Batterskull. I just want to make sure I don't have a chance of losing to like something random like a Bolt. Mantis Rider has flying. Uh-oh. Thank God I'm not quite dead to it. Jeez. They got a 1. Yeah. Oh, path. What a draw. Okay. The damage attack with Mantis Rider, so... Wait, are they? It's fine, I'll jump block with Stoneforge if they... Oh no, I've got Batterskull, what am I talking about? So I can get in with both of my germs here. Okay, I'm still dead to like Tribal Flames. Attack with Mantis Rider, pick up all those Exalted triggers. Before they go off, I'm just going to jam this path. They have no basics left, good to know. Alright, the last card in hand was a Blood Crypt, so full information here. There's no real punish for attacking all out, so I guess we just do. Yeah, I kind of need to go with the Batterskull anyway to make sure I gain life out of range of another Mantis Rider. They really should jump blocking the Batterskull here because they're just dead to this. What, are they not? Yeah, that was first strike. Yeah, nice. Alright, 4-1 in that league with Death and Taxes with Leon and Arbiter. Let's go to the post-league wrap-up. Alright, so we went 4-1. Overall, a very solid result. Nearly a 5 though, honestly. Like, I think the blue-red Murktide style matchups aren't unfavored for us. I think we did just get a bit unlucky there. They had very, very good plays there. Not surprised to have lost to them there. I think being down to 3 Canopy Lands felt good. There was points where we took damage off our Canopy Lands we would have lost if we had more of them, so that's good. Ghost Quarter definitely felt very good, I think. Even though we versed Blue Tron, being able to threaten to take them off Tron was kind of good enough sometimes. Mistress Factory provided a very relevant clock in a lot of matchups, still very happy with that. Cave of the Frustrating didn't honestly do anything in that league, but it also didn't punish us by coming into tap lands, it's whatever. Same with Flagstones, it didn't do anything, but it wasn't a deficit to us. And with this many, with 9 basic plans in the deck still, I think we're allowed to get away with doing some things like this. Giver proved fine. It was able to protect some of our more relevant cards and keep them alive a turn longer. It does make me wonder though if it might be worth testing Esper Sentinel over this slot. It's obviously way less powerful Sideboard play to lead into a turn 2 Stoneforge, but still very decent. It just means we might spend more time playing around with more Skyclaves and Batterskull instead of Caldra. I was very happy with Path to Exile, very happy to be running Arbiter and being able to run it. There were times where I was just happy to give my opponent lands, other times where I would wait for an Arbiter, but overall I think I was very happy to be back on Paths for this league. I think they proved pretty valuable. Vile's Vile, for what it's worth. Arbiter basically didn't do anything all the time, but I think that's where he's at now. Instead of being a staple of Death and Taxes, he's just kind of a role filler. Like, he's not... Thalia is very powerful in game 1, as is Stoneforge. Arbiter is very contextual. But I think that, like, Thalia, obviously, we cut against any decks that are too heavy creatures, but I think Arbiter, like, more so than previous builds, where I think we're opening ourselves up more to be allowed to just cut him when he's bad now and just get rid of him entirely. Um, but the upside is worth it for the paths and the ghost cores I find still. I think this is still the rough idea of a 75 that I would think is my optimal 75 with Arbiter in them still. I have tried the Arbiter's list and still haven't found them to be as effective as these. Again, Arbiter isn't doing everything we need to all the time, but it's able to steal wins against some matchups that we otherwise wouldn't be able to. Just be able to sometimes strip mine them and stop them playing the game can win matchups that are otherwise unwinnable. And I think Esper Sentinel is better in the matchups where we're already favoured. Same with Ambitious Farmhand, which is the other card that is sometimes running these slots. So I think this is still where I'm happy to be. Valley Stoneforge, yeah, again, doing their jobs. Flicker was very good. I still love Flicker. Obviously against Walking Blister from Blue Tron, it wasn't great, but otherwise being a 3 power 5/3 is very good. Skyclave was a great removal spell. Still feels like this is what's given that takes a lot of power recently. Also, just going back to Flickers, I think there was like 3 or 4 different times where I did some really cool things with Flickers this league, so definitely check those out. Things like flickering away a land to keep an opponent off Tron, or being able to respond to Skyclave's ETB to permanently exile a Lurrus and stuff like that. The equipment suite was great. I am still a fan of my equipment suite. I don't think there was any times where I would have been happy with the Sword of Fire and Ice over any of these three, so I'm going to keep running these as they are. And the Solitudes, there were times where they were stuck in hand, but I think I would rather have access to them being a potentially free spell than not. I think the game that I lost against Blutron with it stuck in my hand, I wouldn't have won by keeping a card to pitch to it. I'm not necessarily going to ticket my vowels up to 5 to put it into play, but I am more than happy to go up to 5 mana to sometimes hardcast these, because again, at that point, like, we are, hardcasting or hard equipping Batterskull, we're getting to the point where we start activating Cable Frost Dragon, so I think in this deck I am willing to go up to 5 mana to cast my spells, which is the reason I've like Timeless Dragon in these lists. As for the sideboard, again, like my kind of usual, like these Forge Tenders for Furies and Ragmans at the moment are fantastic. These Revokers and Rips are what I get access to because I kind of just have free sideboard slots. And I think this shores up the matchups that are kind of fringier that we aren't necessarily prepared for with our default sideboards. So being able to have room for 2 of each of these kind of just shores it. Like in this league, we versed Living End and Rest in Peace just absolutely dunked on them. Obviously, Draneth was probably the MVP, but Rest in Peace, definitely did a lot of work to helping lock that matchup up and give us the win there. Sanctifiers, easily a throw up in any Death Tax sideboard I run. I put it up to 3 recently and haven't ever put it back down from there. And then the last one's the Dranth and the Relic Waters. Again, normally I'd be on 2 of each of these. I was testing the 3rd of each over the 2 Sanctum Prelates that I would normally run, which I was actually kind of really happy with. I think I don't currently own 3 Dranths in paper, I don't think, so I don't think I can test the sideboard configuration in paper. We're playing in 2 days' time, so unless my 3rd Dranth arrives in the mail by net, then I won't be able to test this configuration. So I might test the Sanctum Prelates in paper and see how they feel, but I think this might actually be correct. Just with Modern being as fast as all of our sideboard basically being 2-drops with a couple of 1-drops, I think that's, the matchups I lost, like against the blue-red Murktide deck, was because I never found my 3rd land and I had a bunch of these stuck in hand, so I think these are powerful enough that they're worth risking that for, but I mean, maybe that's a reason why the Ambitious Farmhand style look cool, is to help us make sure we get to do this kind of stuff. But I think in the sideboard, yeah, I don't think Sanctum Prelate's necessary. It does kind of clog up the curve a bit, being 3-drops, and we would probably need to bring in over 3-drops. And the matchups where we bring them in, we can't really afford to be playing around with 3-drops, so maybe it is just better to have the extra Draneth and the extra Relic Water. The only reason to be on Prelate specifically would be for some, again, like for the reason we have recipes for extra Rogue, for fringier matchups that we're not normally prepared for. But again, Arbiter is also kind of helping steal some wins against those matchups. So with that said, let's open our chesties. We've also got some other products here. What are these boosters? Let's open these first. Ooh, Stoneforge number 5. That'll probably sell pretty well. Is this Lana or else? Okay, cool card. Tinderwall, sure. Alright, let's get to the chesties, the good stuff. Oh, it's very Time Raveler, very nice. Wall of Reverence is fine. Next chest. What do we got? Altar of the Brood. Faded Intervention. Okay. Next chesty. Oh, Locksmith Spider. Cool. Cool. Big fan of that guy. Another one. We've got Serac Dragonclaw, Cutler's Crusade, and our last chesty. Oh, what are you? Oh, fancy Jaren Corrupted Bishop and Ormondal, and a Baron Tolarian Archmage. That's some kind of interesting cards there. So as I said, I've created a primer for specifically 60 card mono white taxes, this kind of archetype, where I do talk about the differences between being an Arbiter list, being a Esper list, or being a farmhand list, and about kind of what the kind of key cards are, where the flex slots are, how to build the deck, different matchups. So if you enjoy watching my content and think I know half of what I'm talking about when playing this deck, feel free to check out my primer. You might understand this if you've seen me respond to comments or just by watching my videos, but I do have a lot to say about this deck, so it is very wordy. I think it's at like 15,000 words or something, so keep that in mind. But if you do check it out, thank you. Feel free to leave a comment. Let me know what you think of it. Let me know if there's anything I'm missing. Let me know how you think this league went. If there was any misplays I made, or if you just enjoyed the content, let me know. And otherwise, until next time, bye-zy.